let's make a start. Should we make a start either seated or lying down? So we're going to spend a little bit of time before we start to move, just kind of settling and gathering our attention and inviting ourselves to begin to slow down a little bit, and choosing the place that's going to be easiest for you to start to settle. So that might be seated, it might be resting on your back. If you're on your back, it might be nice to have something under your head, maybe bending the knees. And wherever you are, whichever position you begin in, I want to really see if we can find a place that allows us to find as much ease as we can. So for most of us, that's easier if we're lying down. If we're seated, it might be a little bit more of a challenge to find how can we be upright and alert and awake, but easeful. So for me, often just placing a hand on my heart if I'm sitting and just kind of reminding the heart and the chest area that they can be kind of quiet and soft is quite useful. And you might like to begin with your eyes open. You might like to begin with your eyes closed. So find what's going to suit you best. And then give yourself a little bit of time just to settle into a sense of the sounds that surround you here. There are sounds inside the room and sounds outside the room. There might be space in between the sounds that you can hear. And if you do become aware of space in between the sounds, let yourself rest within that space. It might be fragments of time. And then beginning to invite that same kind of gentle, welcoming attention in towards your physical experience, to your body, to your breath. Just taking a moment to notice anything that's asking for your attention. There might be particular kinds of sensations. They might be familiar. They might be less familiar. But particularly if the kind of sensations that have called your attention are familiar ones, see if you can really come at them fresh. So imagine this is the first time you've ever felt this feeling. Often, particularly if we have sensations around kind of tension or discomfort or pain that, you know, are with us for a lot of the day, we can really have a sense of what that's like and lose touch a little bit with the actual experience of it. So it can be useful to really investigate kind of what is the size, what are the shapes of these sensations that are asking for your attention. Are they still or do they move? So we're just taking a little bit of time in stillness, Ange, before we start to move. So find wherever you're comfy. And then we're going to spread that attention elsewhere in the body. And let yourself scan through your body now and see if you can come to rest somewhere where the sensations are easy, pleasant, or at least neutral. It might be that the palms of your hands can offer those kind of sensations, or perhaps somewhere in the face. Anywhere in your body that's feeling a little bit easier now. And particularly if you originally focused on something that was feeling a little bit more difficult, tension or discomfort, then these new sensations, the quieter sensations, might be a little bit harder to stay with. So really practice. How is it in my body for things to feel a little bit easier? Because again, particularly if we are used to carrying around quite a lot of sensations of discomfort or tension or pain, we can lose touch a little bit with these kind of softer, quieter, easier sensations. So it's really useful to seek them out when we can. It might just be one tiny part of the body, maybe just a fingertip. Just resting with the awareness that both of those kinds of sensations are with us at the same time. And it can be a useful practice to actively seek out the easier sensations. Not at all a sense of having to push away the difficult stuff, because it's there, it's always with us. But just encouraging yourself to notice the easier stuff as well, because it's often a little bit harder to see that. So as we move through the rest of the practice today, seeing if you can just hold that in mind. So it can be really easy to focus quite hard on the really stiff bits and the tense parts and those strong sensations. And it's important that we do that. But having this open awareness as well that welcomes in some of the softer, easier, more open things. So let's get started with some movement. And let's begin resting on our backs. A lot of people have started there anyway. And if you haven't already got some support under your head, then I really encourage you to grab a blanket or a pillow, particularly if you're having kind of tension or discomfort in the neck. Just supporting the head can really help to invite things to soften a little bit there. And we'll start with the knees bent and the feet on the floor. So give yourself a bit of time to play around and find where the feet need to be so that you feel as supported as you can do. You might find that turning the toes in a little bit, taking the feet a little bit wider and dropping the knees in to support each other feels good. And then rest your hands somewhere where they feel at home. So it might be on your belly, it might be by your sides, but just finding a place where your arms feel connected to the rest of your body. Let the weight of the head rest down into the earth. Let the weight of the pelvis rest down into the earth. and keeping the head nice and heavy. So the head's going to stay in contact with the ground. I'm just going to roll the head gently in one direction. Nice, slow, lazy movement. The next time that you breathe in, we'll let the head roll back towards center, and as you breathe out, let the head roll gently in the other direction. So really take your time with this. Imagine that the head is full of liquid and you're just rolling from side to side. No need to push here, just experimenting with some easeful movement for the neck. And then coming back to rest in the center, allowing the head to rest heavy again into the earth. And consciously soften your jaw. You might take a few moments to open and close the mouth. And then come to rest somewhere with the jaw is soft. We're going to take our arms up towards the sky. So the fingertips point to the sky, but the shoulders can rest heavy into the earth. They don't need to reach away. And then give yourself a little bit of time to circle through the hands and the wrists. Allowing the fingers to move. And then changing the direction of the circles. Great. And then we're going to cross the forearms over each other. So we're taking hold of opposite elbows. But the elbows still point towards the sky as the shoulders rest into the ground. So the upper arms are vertical now. And then begin to take some small circles with the elbows. Allowing the shoulders to stay really rested. They don't need to reach away from the ground. And as you begin to make these circles, you might begin to notice a little bit more sensation across the backs of the arms, the upper back. And then change the direction of those circles. With this movement and all of the movements that we make together, you can really experiment with the size and the speed to find what suits your body this morning. You might find that that changes as you repeat a particular movement. And then we're going to come back towards center, change the cross of the arms, so the other forearm's going to come closer to your face. And then let the elbows drift towards the left gently. They don't need to go all the way to the ground, just as far as they go comfortably. And then turn the head gently in the same direction. So the head's turning gently to the left as well. And as you pause here, you might feel a little bit more of a stretch sensation across the upper back, around the shoulder blades somewhere. As you next breathe in, let's come back towards center with the head and with the elbows. And then as you breathe out, dropping gently towards the right. Again, no need to pull, just moving until you meet resistance with the head as well. And then coming back towards center. And then continuing at your own pace. So maybe moving with the breath, dropping on an exhalation, returning to center on an inhalation. But you're always welcome to stay settled a little bit longer and stiller in any pose. If it feels good to rest with the sensations in stillness. We'll come back towards center now. And then let's gather the knees in towards the chest. So you could take hold of the fronts of the knees or the backs of the thighs. And just give yourself a little bit of movement here. Maybe circling around the back of the pelvis might feel nice. It might be nice to take one hand in each knee and to move the knees in opposite directions, so a little bit more opening for the hips. So just see how that feels, see if it suits your body today. And then in the opposite direction. Great. And then let's come up to a sitting position. So it might be nice to roll to your side so that you can use your hands to support you as you come up. So you can just experiment with really keeping things soft and easy for the neck. Great. And then finding a seat that suits you today. So it might be kneeling, it might be with your legs crossed, you might have your legs extended. Generally sitting on something, so a little bit of height under your hips will help the lower back feel a little bit easier. Give yourself a little shuffle side to side, and then let yourself rest in the center. One hand towards your heart and one to your belly if that's comfortable for you today. Allow the crown of the head to lengthen very gently up towards the sky, as if you were lengthening into another gentle hand. And then just check in with the back of the neck. Is it nice and long, or has it got a little bit short? So you might need to gently tip the nose forwards to find the length for the neck. Great. And then let the hands come down. Let's just take a few rolls through the shoulders. And tuning into the sensation and maybe to the sound. Great. And then we'll come into some twists with the breath. So we're going to settle back in the center. As you breathe in, let's take a big circle out and up. As you breathe out, we're going to turn the heart towards the right and just let the hands settle down wherever they come to rest. As you breathe in, opening up towards the center. And as you breathe out, turning the heart gently to the left, just letting the hands settle down. So following your own breath, we're all breathing at a different pace. And noticing how it feels for the head and the neck to be part of this twist. So the head can turn gently if that's comfortable for the neck, but it doesn't need to lead it. It can just kind of follow with the heart. Let's take one more round to each side. So the next time the heart turns towards the left, we'll finish there. Coming back towards center, resting the hands back down. And have another little roll. And a shake out. Through the arms, through the hands. Lovely. Nice. There's some good vigorous shaking happening. Lovely. And then if you've got your legs crossed, let's change the cross of the legs just so you can bring some balance into the body. If you're kneeling or you're in a symmetrical position, just stay as you are if you're already comfortable there. And then bringing some attention down towards the belly and the center of the body. I'm going to begin to make some movement from here. So seeing if you can find some circles from the belly, but allowing the shoulders to stay quite soft. The shoulders don't need to lead this. The face can stay soft. The face doesn't need to lead. And just being aware of the shifting weight in your pelvis as you move. Great. And then changing the direction of those circles in your own time. Lovely. And then coming back to center, just taking a moment to settle back towards stillness. Long spine, soft shoulders, soft face. Noticing how your breath is feeling now. So you might notice some shifts in your breath from the start of class, and we haven't needed to do anything to the breath to allow that to happen. And just noticing that the way the breath kind of responds to the way that we move, and the way that we pay attention. I'm going to move into some movement for the spine now. So you can do that either from a seated position or from all fours. It's going to be the kind of cat-cow arching and rounding movements. If you're coming into all fours, have a play around to find the place where you feel most supported. And you can also, if you're avoiding being on your wrist, but it's comfortable for you to find your way into this position, you can also experiment with this from your forearms. So we've got a few options wherever you are in your body today. And wherever you begin, take a breath in to feel the length of the spine. And as you breathe out, begin to gently round the spine by dropping the head forwards, feeling the back body opening. As you breathe in, slowly unfurling. So the heart floats forward, the face floats up, the tail lifts. And then snaking your way between those two shapes at your own pace. So you might find this begins to connect with the breath. There's no right or wrong way of that happening. Just easing through the back of the body, gently opening through the front. Great. The next time that you find a rounded shape, wherever you are, just give that a chance to begin to become a little bit more fluid and a kind of unwinding, unraveling experience for the spine. So you might find some circles through the hips. You might be aware of some side to side movement as well as forwards and back. It's whatever your body needs to unwind here. Great. And then from here, you might begin to settle back towards child's pose. So the hips could move back towards the heels if you're on all fours. Head moving down in the direction of the ground, maybe resting on the ground or maybe stacked hands or stacked fists or a cushion. But good to find somewhere that your head can be in contact with something. And if you're seated, you can find child's pose by just bringing the legs forwards and draping yourself with a heavy head. And really allowing this to be an invitation for your breath to move into the back of your body. Imagining space opening up in between each of the ribs as you breathe in, and then a gentle, soft settling as you breathe out. And tuning into how you're feeling in your body today. If it feels like rest is a priority for you right now, then you might like to stay resting here in child's pose or in another posture that feels restful and easy for you. If a little bit more movement is going to feel good and connecting to the breath again with that movement, then from child's pose, you could reach your arms forwards, float up towards all fours, and with your out breath, float back down towards child's pose. So connecting with your breath that way. If you'd like to feel something a little bit more kind of challenging or dynamic for the arms and the shoulders, for the center of the body, you could feed downward facing dog into that flow. So from all fours, you could tuck your toes, draw the hips up and back, and then finding all fours again with the in-breath. If you are Feeding downward facing dog. In, make sure the knees stay soft. So there's no strain through the lower back, through the backs of the legs. Great. And then let's make our way in your own time, there's no rush, towards a forward bend. So finding your way into a place where the knees are softly bent, so there's no strain through the lower back, through the backs of the legs. Either supporting your forearms on your thighs and keeping the spine long if that feels better for your back, or releasing down with a heavy head and heavy arms. You might take hold of your elbows like we did before, or it might be good to just release the hands down. Wherever you are here, just noticing if a little bit of movement within the stillness of this pose might help you to feel more easeful in the body, feel more easeful in the breath. We've always got the possibility to shift. And then from here, we're going to find our way up towards standing, but there's no rush to get there. So spread your toes, press down into your feet, and slowly begin unfurling through the spine. Head coming up last. Rolling through the shoulders. Have a shake out through the hands. And see if you can find that nice jiggle. Starting at the knees and feeding that jiggliness all the way up. Great. Seeing some really lovely jiggles out there. Lovely. Great. So let's find our way into some standing poses. Let's begin with chair pose. So we're going to start with nice stable distance between our feet, somewhere that we feel really supported. Take a look down at your feet and see if you might spread your toes like fingers and then place them each down towards the earth. Okay. And then we're going to softly bend the knees. Just bring some attention to the area around the hip creases and think about deepening the hip creases as the hips move back in space. So the knees begin to bend, but it's kind of coming from this movement at the hips rather than from just dropping down into the knees. So the knees should stay nice and spacious and strong. And then deciding today whether you prefer to have hands at your heart or expanding the arms forwards and up if that feels kind of supported and strong around the lower belly. And then the option to rest here and feel the strength in the body, or to move with the breath, exhaling to sweep the arms back, inhaling to sweep the arms forward. Knowing that you can always change your option depending on how things are feeling in your body. Last breath in. As you breathe out, wherever you are, let's come to stand. Right. And then making sure you've got space to step back about a leg's distance. We'll step back with the left foot to begin with. And today we're going to come into a high lunge. So if it's okay for your balance, lift the back heel, let the front knee point forwards, and then tune into your lower back and notice if you might need to bend your back knee a little bit to keep the lower back feeling nice and open and strong. And then from here, bring your hands towards your heart. If it feels really challenging for your balance to be here, you're always welcome to ground that back heel, because we're going to bring in a little bit of movement for the arms and the shoulders. So as you breathe in, open your arms nice and wide. And as you breathe out, cross the hands over each other. So inhaling to open up and exhaling to cross the hands over. Great. And each time you cross, see if you might cross a different hand on top. Great. Last breath here. Lovely. And then bring the hands down, and we'll spin the feet so that you're facing towards the left with the knees wide and the feet wide. We're going to find a nice wide squat position, temple pose. Just make sure your knees are pointing in the same direction as your toes and your weight's in your heels. So this should feel nice and strong in the legs. Great. And then let's take the arms out wide, take a deep breath in. As you breathe out, bring the hands towards each other and bring the left hand on top of the right. And see if you might bring the backs of the hands into contact. If things are a little bit tight in the shoulders, you might need to bend your elbows a bit to make that possible. And put a little bit of pressure into your hands. So you're pressing one hand into the other. And then as you breathe in, slowly, slowly, just begin to lift the arms. They won't go all the way to the sky. Let them pause when you find restriction in your shoulders or when you find that your chest begins to lift. We want to keep the chest kind of settled in so the spine is straight. Take a deep breath here and then let the hands come down. And if it's comfortable for your back, you could come all the way down so that the fingertips just brush the floor. Great. And then in your own time, let your hands relax. Roll yourself back up. Have a roll through the shoulders. Have a shake out through the hands. Lovely. And then let's find that high lunge on the other side. So we're going to turn so that our right foot is stepping back this time. Front knee pointing in the same direction as the toes. And then just tune in to notice if you might need to bend the back knee a little bit to find some ease for the lower back. Great. And then bringing the arms wide. As you breathe out, sweeping the arms forwards over each other. As you breathe in, opening up. There's already quite a lot going on here with the challenge for the balance, but if you have the possibility to notice how things are in your upper back and the front of the chest, and to see if you might be able to do this movement keeping some softness and openness in both of those areas. So we don't want to kind of jam anything closed. Great. Last breath here. And then allowing the hands to release down. Great. And then let's turn the feet so that again we're in that nice wide temple pose. Knees pointing out. Weight in the heels, so there's a real sense of the hips moving back in space. Great. Then let's take the arms wide. And this time the right hand travels over the left until we can bring the backs of the hands towards each other. Making a little bit of contact and pressing into the hands. And as you do that, just notice what you can feel around the backs of the shoulders. Remember, you can softly bend the elbows if you need to find more space. And then taking a couple of breaths to reach the arms up. Just noticing what's happening in the neck as you do that. Might you need to encourage the head to move to allow the neck to stay soft. Let's take one more breath here. And then coming up to stand. Bring your feet together and have a really nice big shake through. Lovely. And then let's make our way down towards the ground again from here. And we'll do a couple more things for the shoulders before we come into relaxation. So you could come down through downward facing dog or a forward bend, whatever is going to suit you. And find a nice, comfortable, supported seat, whatever that looks like right now. Great. And then we'll do a couple of things for the shoulders, which they look really simple, and they often feel, in my body at least, a lot harder than they sort of should from the outside. So go at them gently and don't be surprised if there's not a lot of movement becomes available. So we're going to bring our arms up and turn the backs of the hands away from you, so the palms are facing in towards you. Let your shoulders drop down a little bit away from your ears, and then see if it's possible to bring your elbows in towards each other. And for some of us, that might be already quite a lot going on. So if it feels kind of challenging to bring the elbows towards each other, just stay with that. Keep breathing. But if it feels like, okay, yeah, my elbows are in contact, something else can happen here, then keeping the wrists nice and straight, just investigate opening the hands away from each other a little bit. And it's quite, we often, our hands already want to take over and kind of lead us out, but the wrists want to stay straight here. Great. And then as you breathe out, bring your hands back together. And as you breathe in, again, just inviting the hands away from each other. So it's a really tiny movement, but for me, a lot happening in my upper back and my shoulders as I do this. Great. Let's go for one more. So the wrists move apart and then coming back together. And then keeping this shape with the elbows in contact, the sides of the hands in contact. Just let the elbows drift up in space a little bit. And then back down. And again, it's really subtle. It's not a big movement, but it really speaks to my shoulders. Great. And at any stage when you feel like this is enough, you can let it rest. It's quite intense, I think, this movement. And then the last thing that we're going to do, come back to center and just investigate your hands moving away from your face. So this can be really strong. It might only move a centimeter or two. Let yourself pause at the place where your body's saying, hi, and just breathe for a moment. Great. Notice if your shoulders have really come up to meet your ears, and can you invite them back down? And then coming back up to center, let your hands drop down. And just give yourself a moment to really let the hands rest down, for the arm bones to be heavy, and to notice what those movements have kind of left you with around your shoulders and your neck. You might need to have a little bit of movement. You might just enjoy the sensations changing and shifting a little bit as you breathe. Great. So then we'll come into one last thing for the shoulders. If it feels to you like I am done with my shoulders now, then you might like to just come into a seated twist. So turning the heart towards the right and settling in there for a few moments. But if it feels like a little bit more shoulders and neck action is going to be nice, then take your right hand in front of you, turn the palm up towards the sky. Let your heart stay settling down, so we don't want to lift up through the chest too much with this. And then bring that hand up towards the sky. Bend at the elbow, so the hand drops down behind you. Great. And then take hold of the elbow and invite yourself into some gentle circles here. So the elbow is going to circle in space. And then in the other direction. And then coming back towards center, staying with this elbow raised if that's still okay. We're going to turn the head gently towards the left and then just drop the chin down towards the collarbone and have a play around to see if you can find a nice stretch for the neck here. And pause with that. Notice if the heart might be able to soften down, so if the chest is lifting and that's putting pressure into the lower back, it will soften. And then roll the chin back to center, breathe the face back up. Let the hands come down. Just give yourself a moment to notice side to side how things are feeling now. So how is your left shoulder compared to your right? Where are they sitting? And then we'll change sides. So we're going to take the left hand out this time, turn the palm up towards the sky. Again, just inviting the chest to stay settled and soft here. It doesn't need to lift up. And we're going to reach up. Won't necessarily go all the way up towards the sky. In my body, I can't reach my fingers up towards the sky without hiking up at my chest. So I just pause before I feel that. Great. And then let the hand drop down. Might feel quite different on this side. Take hold of the elbow. And invite yourself to come into some gentle circles. Great, moving in the opposite direction when you're ready. And then coming back towards center, turning the head gently towards the right. Drop the chin down in the direction of the collarbone, and then have a play around to see if you can find a nice stretch for the left side of the neck here. When you do, let yourself settle into it. And just notice how the sensations change. And then coming back to center in your own time. Releasing down through shoulders, hands, arms. Letting the face be soft. Great. And then we're going to make our way towards final relaxation from here. Let's take one twist lying on our backs before we really settle into rest. But if you make sure that you've got everything you're going to need to rest comfortably, so a blanket under your head or a cushion, make sure you're warm enough. If you've got anything to cover your eyes, you might like to cover the eyes. And take a little bit of time to shuffle around and find the place where you feel most comfortable. We're going to take our arms out by the sides and then just experiment with where they need to rest for you to feel like your shoulders are settled and your arms are connected to the rest of your body. So they might be quite close to the body, they might be further away. And then just inviting the knees to tick-tock from left to right. Feeling into the lower back as you do that. And then deciding if settling somewhere a little bit stiller might feel good in your body today. So you can keep the knees bent. And they can drop down in one direction or the other. If it feels like that is really bringing strain into the body, if the knees are sort of hovering somewhere, you could try propping the knees up with a cushion, or just continue with that gentle tick-tocking side to side. We don't want to bring extra strain into the body with this. And then if you have been still in the twist, you can come back to center and change sides. And coming back in towards center, hugging those knees in when you're ready. Any last movements that you need to make so that you feel ready to rest and to settle. And as we make our way towards rest, you might find that resting on your back is a good place to be today. But you might find that resting on your side feels more comfortable, or that coming up to sit is a better option. So you just need to choose the place where you are going to be most able to settle today. And whatever position you have chosen for yourself, let yourself really rest into the earth. So aware of each point of contact between your body and the earth now. And see if you might invite each out breath to be an opportunity to settle a little bit deeper into that contact. So resting down, resting back. And then just as we did at the beginning, let your attention just scan gently around the body and see if you can find somewhere in your body where the sensations are either easy or pleasant or just neutral. Even if that's a tiny area. And allow yourself to make a conscious practice of resting with these sensations for a few moments. Let yourself notice their size and their shape. Are they steady or are they moving? Might there be a connection between these sensations and your breath somehow? And then give yourself a little bit of time with the breath. The breath entering and leaving the body at its own pace. No force or effort required. Notice how your breath is at the end of this practice together. Where does it move easily? And then allowing yourself the next few minutes to rest in quietness. Just being with your body and the sensations that you find there as they come and go and shift and change. Allowing your attention to be drawn gently from sensation to sensation. Knowing that you've always got those sensations as an anchor to return to when your attention moves elsewhere. And becoming aware again of your breath. Inviting the breath to deepen slightly. Just using that slightly more conscious breath to bring your awareness right back into the body. And then inviting some gentle movement into the body. Whatever helps you begin to wake up. And then give yourself a moment now to notice whether continuing to rest here on the ground might be exactly what you need. And if that is the case, and you have the time and the space to do that, then I really encourage you to stay resting. To wait until you feel ready to get up. If you know that you need to finish the practice at 11 o'clock, then you can gently find your way towards a seated position, just to take a moment or two before we close. So wherever you are now, just allowing yourself to be aware of everything around you, the sounds, the smells. If your eyes are open, you might take in the room or the space around you. And feeling yourself resting within all of that. And then if you're seated, you could bring your hands into a gesture that brings a sense of completion for you. So maybe hands together or in contact with the body somewhere. And thank yourself for taking the time to practice this morning, for putting time aside to be with your body, to connect with your breath. Send some gratitude towards yourself and towards the others who have been practicing alongside you, holding this practice together. And think about taking a sense of spaciousness and support into the rest of your day and on into the week ahead.